Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Football House for another press conference where Scorpions coach Johnathan Mckinstry will unveil his players for the November window 2025 Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations match day 5 and 6 qualifiers. And as customary, he will announce his team. Then after that, there will be a question and answer session before the end of the press conference. But I must also announce that immediately after the press conference, there will be a presentation to the Scorpion technical staff from the electronic partner, Unique Group, will be presenting some equipment to the coach that is geared towards enhancing his job. So I would indulge our kind patience to stay. You can see that there are banners already on the flanks. Immediately after these ones, we just put them on and we get into that as well. It's all part of the national team, please. So without much ado, coach, this show is yours to announce the team to the Gambian people through the media.
Perfect. Okay, thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. Very good to see all of you again. It's been, I know, only a few weeks since we were last sat together, but all the same, very good to see everyone. Obviously, the upcoming games, very important. We know the value of them. It's good to get to this stage with our destiny very much in our own hands as a football team. We know that if we get the results that we're after, that qualification is within our own hands. We're not having to rely on anyone else to do something, which is a better position than a lot of teams find themselves in. So we're pleased to have our destiny in our own hands. Going into the squad, I know you guys will have a lot of questions afterwards just about the games, about the camp, and I think that's the best time to sort of answer your specific questions. Just reflecting on the squad selection, again, it's been very pleasing this last month since we sort of broke from match day 4 that the majority of our players, again, have been playing regularly. As you know, we've got players all over the world, here in the African continent playing, in Europe, in the Americas, in Asia, and it's been very good that the majority of our players are getting regular minutes at a really good level of the game. This is something that since I've joined the Scorpions has been a great pleasure. It's a challenge as well, because it means we've got to make difficult decisions that sometimes players who are playing well and playing regularly don't get into the final squad, but it's purely because we have so many. A lot of our neighbours and a lot of our competitors don't have that privilege. So it's something very pleasing for us, and it's definitely made picking the squad this time, again, difficult, but it means we have a squad that we know will be hyper-competitive coming into the games. The other thing that I think is very beneficial is you'll notice there's a few new names on the squad, but again, the nice thing and somewhat a unique thing for the Gambian national team is a lot of the players breaking through in professional leagues are born and bred here in the Gambia. You know, yes, we have a number of players who are members of the diaspora, and they're always welcome to be part of our team, but I think when you look at other teams across the continent, I think in the last camp, we only had 5 of the 23-man squad were born outside of the Gambia. That's a very low number. And again, that sort of trend continues because a lot of players who are being developed at the clubs and communities here in the Gambia are taking that step to professional football and performing well and getting called back to represent their country. So, yeah, we're very pleased about that. But look, let's move into the squad. So, goalkeepers. We'll be maintaining Ibrahima Jarju, Lamine Saidi, Sheikh Sibi. In the defense, Ibu Toure, Babukar Njai, Joseph Cisse, Dudu Gay, Mamadou Lion Njai, Omar Colley, and James Gomez. In the midfield, Alassane Mane, Mamadou Badjo, Abubakar Bari, Ibu Adams, and Ibrahima Darbo. Forwards, Musa Barrow, Ablai Jallo, Abdoulaye Sanyang, Aliou Fadera, Suleiman Kamara, Yankuba Minte. And the strikers, Abdoulaye Cissé, Ali Sow, and Alassane Jatta. So that's a 24-man squad. Obviously, you'll be aware that for the first game, Joseph Cissé is suspended after his yellow card. So we've called up the extra player to cover up that. So for the first game, 23 of the players will be available for selection due to Joseph Cissé's suspension. For the second game, all being well, everyone will be available for selection. Yeah, so we can hand it over for any questions. I'm sure you'll have some.
Yes. So we go straight into the question and answer session. As customary, please introduce yourself and your medium, and then you ask your question. If you want to ask the question, raise your hand. Yes.
Yeah, my name is Cambodia. Last time I started, Cambodia, they had very good selection. And seeing Alexander for the first time for the nationality. Yeah, coming to this is a very crucial game for the Gambia. Knowing that even you take 95% qualifying for the world. So, and also for Comoros, a draw, maybe a draw, and the next game to a draw, a good value. So, what type of tactic are you coming in this game just to avoid? Because Comoros maybe they will come for draw. So, what type of tactics are you planning? Not your opponent to score you first.
Yeah.
And make a game sit back.
So, yeah, look, I don't think any team comes into a game looking for a draw. So I think it's maybe a little bit naive to think that whether it's Comoros, Tunisia, I don't think any team goes in looking for a draw. I think all teams look to capitalize on moments in the game. In nature, when we look at the first game on match day 5 against Comoros, their system doesn't change often. They're a team that likes to sit in a low to mid block. They like to defend reasonably deeply, to deny space, to be compact, and they like to try and hit teams on the counter-attack. This is how they play. And I expect if you want to reduce chances that opponents, so let's say a team did want to play for a draw, you would sit in a low to mid block and be compact, which is sort of what Comoros do anyway. So we don't think we expect a huge amount different. Their previous 4 games in qualifying have seen a pretty consistent approach to their gameplay, and they're very good at it. They're very good at it. But equally, when we look back, even when we played them on match day 1, we were 95% of the way there in that game. They sat in their block, yet we penetrated it numerous times. If you come away from that game, that Comoros game was the most attacking moments that the Gambia had created in over 10 years of football in terms of attacking chances in a game. And so the one thing that was missing was that final golden touch to score the goal. But we were creating a lot. And unfortunately, a set piece undid us, and we got back in the second half. But, in that game, we largely managed Comoros very well. Now, that was match day 1. They have developed as a team. They come in more confident than maybe they were in match day 1. But for us, we just need to go, and we've been putting a lot of things together in our performances, and we've been creating a lot of chances, and the play of the team has been developing camp by camp. That, yeah, it's about putting the ball in the back of the net. It sounds as simple as anyone down the street talking about football will talk about, but sometimes football is a simple game. But goal scoring is also the most difficult thing to do in football. That's why the best goal scorers go for the big transfer fees. Again, we're very thankful that we've got a number of players in the squad who are in good form with their clubs. You look at Alassane Jatta, Ali Sow, Abdoulaye Cissé, Moussa Barrow, Bamba's even got on the score sheet recently. There's a lot of guys in the front 5, front 6 who've been scoring goals recently. And so it's, can we transfer that into the national team? Because we're creating the chances, we're using the ball reasonably well. Now can we get over the line? But yeah, we know it's an important game, and we've got to go all out for the win. But we also have to make sure that we don't fall prey to those counter-attacking moments, because Comoros are very good at them. If you look at their victory over Tunisia in Tunis, again, counter-attacking moments. They could have won the game by more than a single goal. So they're very, very good on the counter-attack. So we've got to balance that attacking intent with also defensive alertness to make sure that we don't fall victim to that.
Next question, yes, please.
Yes, thank you so much. My name is Mohamed Jabir from Isamo Online TV. Coach, your recent 2 games that you play, you create a lot of chances, but putting the ball at the back of the net is always a problem. What do you think we should do to make sure that we get the goal that we need? Because scoring is very important because of the big matches.
Yep.
If you don't score, you don't have 3 points.
Yep. No, it's...
Right now, assisted Musa Baro and other players are scoring week in, week out. Because national game is only for them to score.
Yeah. Look, there's the old adage in football is that the first thing is creating the chances. You know, and I think this is probably where there's been a big change here, because in the past, maybe if we were to wind the clock back 2 or 3 years, there wasn't as many chances being created by the Scorpions. You know, you maybe had a handful of chances in a game, whereas now the way we're playing is resulting in a lot more chances being created. And that means when you don't get the victory, it means it hurts so much more, because you look back and you think, oh, we created all of these chances. But you've got to understand as well, and the players, we talked to the players about this, is actually getting to that point of the goal-scoring moment takes so much effort and so much quality to go from your own goal line 100 meters up the pitch, maintaining the ball, creating good opportunities, takes so much technical expertise, and we're doing that so well, so often, that calmness and coolness in front of goal just needs to be there. Sometimes it's also been good saves. You know, sometimes it has been that our opponents have been pulling out good saves, good tackles, but on the merit of it, you know, we're not going to sit here and have a debate over football statistics and XG and all of that. But when you look at our games, if you keep creating that number of chances, you win more games over the long term. That's the nature of it. So for us, it's about continuing to create the chances. It's about having guys be cool in those moments and just be ready, because we know they've got the quality. You know, we know they've got the quality. You know, Musa has the quality, Abdullah, Ali, Alassana, Bamba, Yankuba. All of them have huge quality in front of goal. And so we just have to keep creating the chances, and we know that it's going to click.
Coach, looking at this team, when we say we have a good team on paper, because the striking department, Alassana Jara is coming in, he's absolutely in fine form for Notts County, 5 goals in October itself. And Abdullah Cisse is also a fine striker as well, getting in the goals. But looking at the wings, of course we have Yankuba Minte coming in. And we all understand that for the past 3 games of Brighton Hove Albion, Yankuba Minte hasn't featured, he's out injured. And looking at other wingers, Ibrahim Akoli is doing very well for young boys, Musa Juara for Baile, Jibril Silla for Azam as well. What justification do you have in getting Yankuba Minte in the squad, who has not played in the past 3 games, and these wingers who have absolutely been doing well for their clubs being left out?
So again, I think it's important that we correct the question, first of all, because you named 2 players who've only started 1 game in the last 4 weeks for their clubs. You know, Ibrahima obviously is an important player long-term for us, but started for young boys yesterday for the first time in the last 4 weeks. Hasn't been playing recently, and I spoke to Ibrahima this morning just to explain why he wasn't going to be in the selection. But in essence, I think over the last month he's played about 100 minutes of football total. And that's roughly the same. Musa's a little bit more. He's come off the bench in the last 2 games to do quite well, off the bench. But again, we just feel what Sully and what Bamba bring to the squad. Bamba obviously has returned from injury. Last week started, got 90 minutes previous weeks. He's sort of on an upwards trajectory, we would say. Fully fit now, upwards trajectory, scored last week. And Sully has been pretty much a regular at Racing Santander. So, you know, I think it's important to correct the question in that the way you frame it makes it sound like the guys who have not been selected have been playing more than the guys who have been selected, when that's actually not true. It's just factually not true. Specifically on your question about Yankuba, I spoke with the sporting director of Brighton 2 days ago. So Yankuba is now fully fit. So he is now back in training as of this week. He's expected back in training with the Brighton first team. We know that not having played, the last game Yankuba played was the game against Madagascar for us. And that's not an ideal situation. But I think also that Yankuba, even at his young age, has built up enough credit to say, for one player in the squad, we can take a risk. And physically, we know it's not going to be an issue. Is there going to be a little question mark over match fitness in terms of can he play 90 minutes? Absolutely. You know, we're not naive to think you can go from playing 0 minutes for 4 weeks to then playing 90 minutes at international level, but that's what a squad's for. You know, we've got other guys who can play when he maybe isn't able to. But in terms of his physical fitness, there's absolutely no problem with that.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Coach. Basically, I want to talk about Alassane Jatta and Aliou Bari, Ibrahim Koli as well. All three of them missed out in your previous squads for some reason. Ibrahim, we understand, decided not to want to be the caller for some reasons. And some of them also asked not to be called for some personal reasons, so maybe they want to get more playing time with their respective clubs to establish themselves. And we've seen them being called upon, basically two of them, Bari and Alassane. Is it that right now they are mentally ready, and not only mentally ready, but they feel that now is the right time for them to come and play in the squad and excel?
Yeah. Again, before I answer your question, important to correct, because I know other stuff, your question gets included in my answer a little bit. Ibrahim Akoli's never refused a call-up. So the reason Ibrahim, as we explained the last time, was him and I had a discussion. He had some personal issues that were very pressing that needed attending to, and we agreed that I would not call him. So for anyone to suggest that Ibrahim Akoli has not honoured an invitation is very incorrect. So I think it's important, because that's quite a damning thing to say about a player, that he doesn't, you call him and he doesn't come. That's never happened. So Ibrahima is fully committed to playing for us, and actually when I spoke to him this morning, was disappointed but understood about not being called into this squad, but was very disappointed at not being able to represent the Gambia this time around. So I think it's important to correct that. For Aboubakar Bari and Alassane Jatta, obviously last time out, Alassane was just recovering from concussion, and so wasn't at 100%. And yeah, between the two of us, he just sort of felt, players when they come for the first time want to make a real positive impression. And when you're not at 100%, you don't want to have a negative impression your first time out. So, you know, he's feeling really good now, fully recovered from the concussion. He's maintained, after returning from that injury, he's maintained scoring goals in League Two for Notts County. And so he's going to come in and compete. But I also think, you know, let's take the pressure off a little bit, because your first time stepping up to international level from League Two is a step up. You know, the quality of players he will be playing against and playing with will be higher than what he plays with in League Two. So we've got to, there's a lot of potential there with Alassane. You know, we have big faith in him that he can do really well over the long term for us, but we think he can have an impact in the short term. So he's ready to come in. And again, Aboubakar, you know, he's doing really well at Austria Vienna this season. Had a little bit of an injury a few weeks ago, but is back last few games, has been back in the team. And yeah, just again, a player who's ready to come, ready to compete. And I really think adds something different to us, because Aboubakar is a player who really likes to drive forward with the ball. He likes to make forward runs from midfield, can carry the ball really well. We don't have lots of those. You know, we've got a lot of guys who like to play two-touch football. We've got guys who can be physical in the midfield. We've got the number 10s who can shoot and who can assist. We don't have too many of the players who can connect through their running and through their power play, let's say, the defensive effort and the attacking effort. So we're really excited to see what Aboubakar can do.
Next question. Yes, Fama.
Yes, Coach. First, at some point, we saw some surplus being brought out by CAF, that the Central Gambians came at first at the Independence Stadium, and both in the end we saw them devote that decision. First question, was that something that you were looking forward to? And the second question, there's this player who was playing for Gambia under 20, Haruna Rasimijai. He did very well in the national under 20, both the Afcon and the World Cup. He moved to Latvia to play for Riga, RSF, and of recent we've been seeing him in the Champions League qualifiers. He's playing the Europa League, and he actually played frequently, sometimes in more unaccustomed positions. Is it a player that you're monitoring?
Yeah, so two questions. Everyone's very eager to get back and play here in Bacau as soon as possible. The players are hungry to do it, the staff are hungry for it, the federation are hungry for it, and we know the supporters across the Gambia are hungry for it. So for us, we can't wait to walk out in the stadium. Obviously, it is, I think there's no point being sort of disingenuous. Everyone was disappointed when it was said that we're going to have to be out of the country again. But we're adults, you know, this is the nature, it's the difference between being 5 years old and being 25 or 35 or 45 is that we get to process our emotions and we get to move on. And so yes, we were disappointed by it, but we know we've got a job to do and we've got to go and give everything, all of our passion, all of our energy, all of our quality, and to do it in Morocco. And you know, the Gambian public can rest assured that we'll do everything we can to get the results that they want and that we want. And sooner rather than later, we'll be able to do that back here on Gambian soil. In terms of Rashid Njai, he's a player who's doing really well for himself. We're monitoring him closely. Obviously, at 18, 19 years old, started 13, 14 games this season, which in your first season is really good. You know, at 18, 19 to go pro in Europe, Latvia is a good, solid league. Look, it's not the Bundesliga or the Premier League, but I would rather an 18-year-old be playing and learning those lessons at that age because it helps him move on. And so winning a couple of trophies the last weeks, you know, the Cup and the League, that's great for him. And yeah, we're really pleased with his development. You know, he's a deep-lying midfielder. He's someone who can use the ball really well. He's obviously shown in his time in Latvia that he can play in a few different positions. You know, he's been deployed at fullback a few times, been played in his natural sort of deep-lying midfield position a few times. And so as a young player, he's somebody that we think, if he continues on his progress, can have a really big future both for himself, but also for the Gambia. But I also then say that it's a journey he's on. You know, I don't necessarily think, I said this to someone the other day, discussing Rashid himself actually, that it's not just about calling, and I know you're not specifically saying calling him to the squad, but this is the conversation we need to have about young players in general, is that an 18-year-old playing 15 games is really good, and that's really positive, and we're really pleased about that. But in order to give them access to the national team, you've got to drop somebody else. And when you look at the players, for example, in Rashid's position, you know, the likes of Ibu Adams, Mamadou Badjo, Ibrahima Darbo, Hamza Barry, who's not in this squad, Saidou Khan, who's not in this squad, you know, there's a lot of competition. So you got to leave someone out to get someone in, and that time will come. But for Rashid, it's a little bit in the future. But we're really pleased at how he's developing over there. We think it's been a really good first season for him there. And yeah, it's not everyone gets to win trophies in this career, and so we're really pleased for him that he's got a couple early on.
Anyone who hasn't asked question yet?
You said destiny lies on our hand now. What are you expecting?
I've learned in football, all you need to focus on is your performance. You go out and you perform at your highest levels as often as possible, and eventually you find the success that you're looking for. But the nature of football is sometimes you put in your best performance and you lose, and sometimes you put in a poor performance and you win. to give an example of this, I think our performance against Madagascar in the last game in match day 4 is probably the poorest we've played from a ball usage, how we use the ball, how we pass the ball, how we press out of possession, all the things that make us who we are. I think the game against Madagascar was the weakest we've been of all 6 games since I've arrived. And the players would tell you the same, yet we won the game. You know, but it wasn't a great performance. It wasn't a nice game to watch. It was a bit of an ugly game to watch. And we won the game. So sometimes football's frustrating like that sometimes you can have a perfect performance and not get the points, and other days you can have a pretty scrappy performance and get the win. But what we know is, over the medium to long term, good performances equal success. And so for us, we know what's required over these 2 games. We're going to go out and try and play at our very best. That starts with having, you know, good organization, good training camp, make sure the players step out onto the pitch in good spirits and good physical condition. And if we do that, then I believe we can win.
No more questions? Yes.
My name is Alessandra from I just want to ask this question. Are you ready to work with the clubs at the provinces? Because you see in Africa, many of the professional footballers are from the provinces. And whether you are ready to send some of your team there to make a survey on those footballers so that you can take them into national team.
Yeah, so I think this is one of the wider conversations that we have along with the technical director, Sang and Dong's department, in terms of just growing the game, as we would call it. How do we grow the game in the Gambia? And that's not just about growing the game in Banjul. That's about growing the game all across the nation, because good footballers can come from anywhere. And so that's about growing the game. Now, do I believe there's a 25-year-old playing in any place in a grassroots league in the Gambia who's ready to step up and play for the Scorpions tomorrow? Probably not. Are there some young players around the country who we can help develop and help provide pathways for and opportunities for and open those doors so that in the coming years, if they work hard and if they have the right support, that they can step up into the professional game and play for the Scorpions? Yeah, and that's a wider conversation that over, this few months has been pretty busy with games. Obviously, after these games, we don't play again until March, and then after that, we don't play again until June. And so there's going to be more time to get actively involved with the technical department. But look, my history is a long time ago now. It was in youth development. I obviously ran an academy in Sierra Leone. I worked with one of the biggest academies in North America. And so, yeah, providing opportunities for those young players is important, and we'll be working closely with the technical director and his staff in trying to make sure those pathways are there.
Yes, you talked about Gambia having our own destiny in our own hands, and these 2 games are very, very important for the future of this national team. If we can qualify to the Afcon again, or we will not be able to be there. But before this game against Comoros, in which it will be a home game for the Gambia, there has been a lot of excitement from the fans and even the players that there is a possibility that we might play at home. Now that it didn't happen, approaching these 2 games with the right mentality is key for us to get results. As a coach and your backroom staff, how much work would you put in to ensure that you get the players to be in the right frame of mind to approach these games, despite they're going to play away from home?
Yeah, one thing I would say is that our players have a really good mindset. There's a really good mindset in the group, and I think that shows you the levels they're playing at the game. Like, I know when people watch on the TV, they think, playing in the Premier League or Serie A or the Champions League or the Turkish League. Our guys aren't playing in small leagues. The majority of our team are playing in top divisions. They're playing in European continental competitions. They've been to Afcons before. If they're some of the younger guys, they've been to the youth Afcons, the youth World Cups. And so the mentality in the group's a really strong mentality. You don't get to that level of football. Look, it's something like 0.1% of youth footballers turn professional, and even less reach the top divisions. And in order to do that, it's not just about passing and kicking the football. It's about your mentality. And we've got really, our guys are pretty strong mentally, yeah? But equally for us as a staff, we make sure there's very clear messaging, you know, because if you're setting out on a journey, if you want to get from A to B, you need to know where B is. You need to know what the road conditions are going to be like in order to get to B in a good condition. And that's what our job as a staff is. It's about making sure the players know what's expected of them this week, know very clearly what each of their individual roles and responsibilities are, and as a team, how we need to react to situations, and then to go out and do it. And also as a staff to be ready to react, because sometimes some things happen. Somebody picks up a knock in training, there's a booking or a penalty in a match you've got to react to. And so for us as a staff, we put the work in to make sure that we can make good quality, fast decisions in the moment. But mindset, it's not something I'm worried about in this group. This group is it's a winning mindset in the group, and yeah, they're going to be ready. Staff, players, kit men, media officers, everyone's ready to do what's needed to get the right results.
One final question before we bring the press conference on end, in the absence of that. Do we have any question? Okay, I'll give the final word to the coach, but before I do that, like you stated in your questions to the coach, we are all disappointed that we are not playing here. And if that is the case, we all know the constraints that the various media houses have in terms of sending personnel to cover these matches. But then the GFF media would be there as usual. We started this the last camp. We can make best use of that. If you want to ask coach some questions, you can send the questions through the GFF media team, and we will try as much as we can, you know, to ask him some of the questions whenever the opportunity arises. I think this will help in trying to bridge that gap, since the mainstream media would have the opportunity to be there. That's what I wanted to say. Please, we'll try our best as we can so that once we are interviewing the coach pre or post match, we ask him some of these questions that we can. On that note, coach, you have the final word. I know they have missed their chance now to ask any other question, but then
No, I think there's not a lot really to be said. Questions were very detailed. I hope you got the answers that you were hoping to get, or at least were understandable. And yeah, we're going to go out. We know the job that needs to be done. We're going to be giving it our best to make sure that we return to the African Cup of Nations in Morocco. And hopefully in 2 weeks' time, we'll all have big smiles on our faces. Inshallah. All
right, thank you, everyone. So, like I said, let's just stay behind for the presentation. We can start down. Where's Aliu? We can't wait. We took all the time, really.